Well, let's do evenness now. So let's check out our formula for evenness again. So it is the calculated Shannon number, which we do have now, divided by the natural log of how many species occur in that particular community. Not the total number of organisms that were found, but the total number of species in the community. So let's go back to our sheet here. So we're going to need a total number. Now, of course, we have 5 species here, and notice that there are no zeros, at least in this example. Now, your data may have zeros. So what if we didn't find any arachnids in the wetland? Let's put a 0 in there. Notice what happens, too, to our natural log calculation, because if a 0 occurs in this cell, it will not perform the natural log calculation. It'll just insert a 0 according to our formula here, which is what we wanted. So why don't we keep it like this for now, just for illustrative purposes. And we want a count of how many species there are in the wetland, in the meadow, and in the edge, but of course not counting any zeros. So let's make a new note here, number of species. We're going to use a new function known as COUNTIF equals COUNTIF. So COUNTIF, let's define a range. COUNTIF this range, and the criteria for that, comma, are all cells that have values which are greater than 0. Open quote, greater than 0, close quote, close parentheses, and it's going to count only the cells that have actual numbers greater than 0. Notice that we have 4 now. So we can actually copy this formula and paste it into the other columns here for meadow and edge. So why don't we go ahead and do that? Okay, so now we can do our evenness calculation. So evenness is equal to the calculated Shannon value, which is really just the number right above it. Actually, I want it in this cell here, right underneath Shannon. So why don't we just call this even? Okay, so it is the actual calculated value of Shannon, which we have, which is the cell right above it. So let's reference that. So equals this, divided by the natural log, ln, of the number of species. So we're going to reference this cell right over here. Assuming that your columns and cells have the same arrangement, it is safe to copy and paste these cells. So I'm going to copy the little note here that says even as well. Copy both of these cells. Copy and paste it. Now notice something about my values here. This is just an example. Recall from the first part of our video that the numbers that are used for this example were randomly generated. They're random numbers between 1 and 12. So it is really not surprising that our evenness numbers here are really high and relatively the same. The same thing goes with our Shannon numbers. Notice that they don't really differ very much from one community to the next, because again, when you randomly generate numbers, that's what's going to happen. But of course, in the real world with our data, your Shannon numbers will be different. Now, we did discuss what these numbers mean as far as what the Shannon numbers mean. So for the purposes of this video, I won't get into that because we did explain that in lab. So that's how you set up your spreadsheet. Now, for the purposes of printing stuff out, you're going to need a printout of this. So the way you do it is you're going to want to print. The orientation is going to be landscape, not portrait. So you want to do landscape, and under scaling here, let's choose fit on one page. So in case your cells go over, but in this case it won't. But just to be safe, that's how you want to set it up for printing. And you want to do the same thing when you print out your similarity indices. You want to do landscape, normal margins, fit sheet on one page. So this way you'll have a printout for your proportional indices and another sheet for all of your Shannon and evenness calculations. And that's how you do it. Thanks for watching this tutorial, and please contact me with questions. Take care, everybody.